Welcome back, Hammers. If you love West Ham news and updates, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments what you think. Let's get started. In recent years, Lucas Paqueta's journey has been marked by highs and lows that have turned his career into a true case of resilience. The Brazilian midfielder arrived at West Ham as the most expensive signing in the club's history, after a period of rebuilding during his time at Lyon in France. Over 2 seasons in French football, he managed to recover the prestige lost after leaving Flamengo, where he began his career for AC Milan in Italy. In 2019, Milan spent more than €38 million to secure Paqueta, who was seen as a rising star in world football. However, adapting to Serie A was not easy, and in just over a year, the midfielder was transferred to Lyon for around €23 million, well below the original fee. It was in France that the player regained his confidence, showed technical quality once again, and with consistent performances, attracted renewed interest from top European clubs. To the surprise of many, in the summer of 2022, Paqueta signed with West Ham in a record-breaking deal, the highest amount the English club had ever paid for a player. His arrival brought high expectations, as he was regarded as a talent capable of deciding matches with refined passes and creative play. Still, Paqueta became a polarizing figure among fans, at times dazzling with moments of brilliance, but at others causing frustration by taking excessive risks, losing the ball in dangerous areas, and overreacting on the pitch. Yet none of these controversies compared to the biggest of his career, the disciplinary process conducted by the English Football Association, which accused him of involvement in betting manipulation. This became one of the most talked about integrity investigations in the history of English football. The accusations began in August 2023, when the FA detected suspicious betting patterns in 4 Premier League matches, in which the Brazilian received yellow cards against Leicester in November 2022 against Aston Villa, in March 2023 against Leeds United, in May 2023 and against Bournemouth in August 2023. The body accused the player of deliberately seeking bookings to benefit gamblers who had placed money on specific markets linked to those cautions. In total, 283 bets related to those matches were recorded, placed by 27 gamblers allegedly connected to Paqueta. Based on this, the athlete was formally charged with 4 breaches of Rule E5.1 of the FA, along with 2 more for failing to fully cooperate with the investigation. The consequences could have been devastating. If found guilty of match fixing, Paqueta risked a lifetime ban from world football. To make matters worse, his already advanced transfer to Manchester City, valued at £85 million, collapsed due to the ongoing case. The FA's case relied heavily on circumstantial evidence. Betting data reports, mostly from Brazil, were used to show unusually high sums placed on specific cautions involving the player. Personal links between bettors and people close to the athlete were also cited, as well as the deletion of hundreds of messages from his mobile phone. The investigation was further supported by Stats Perform, a company specializing in sports integrity analysis. However, the independent commission in charge of judging the case found serious flaws in the accusations. No direct link was established between Paqueta and the gamblers under scrutiny. The betting patterns did not align consistently with intentional manipulation and could be explained by other reasons. Furthermore, of the more than 300 messages recovered from the player's phone, none referred to betting or match fixing. The deletion of data was attributed to automatic device settings, rather than a deliberate attempt to hide information. Paqueta's defense was reinforced by significant testimonies. Then West Ham manager David Moyes argued that the Brazilian's playing style is naturally risky, leading to mistakes that often result in bookings but not due to bad faith. The Scot even criticized the FA's report, claiming that isolated statistics without proper football knowledge could not sustain such serious charges. Another relevant support came from former referee Mark Clattenburg, who analyzed the cautions and argued that in at least 2 of the 4 matches, the yellow cards should not even have been given. In July 2025, after months of expectation and tension, the independent commission finally announced its verdict. Lucas Paqueta was acquitted of all charges related to match fixing and betting. The panel concluded that there was no evidence the player had intentionally sought to influence games or deliberately force yellow cards. It was also recorded that the betting data did not support the theory of deliberate conduct, and that the player's behavior on the pitch was consistent with his style of play, not suspicious practices. Despite the acquittal on the most serious charges, Paqueta was found guilty of 2 secondary offenses, failing to fully cooperate with the investigation. The commission determined there had been significant delays in providing responses and information requested by the FA. However, it was proven that this stance was not intentional on the player's part, but rather the result of his lawyer's advice, who recommended caution given the uncertainty over the formal charges to be presented. The result brought relief for the Brazilian, but also exposed the English FA to heavy criticism. The decision not to appeal made it clear that the body itself recognized the weaknesses of its case. Internally, reports emerged of disagreements among the institution's own legal representatives, of methodological flaws such as the absence of independent experts who could have supported the conclusions. The final report, spanning more than 300 pages, turned out to be more critical of the FA's handling of the process than of the player himself. Newspapers such as Mail Online labeled the case fragile and full of gaps. This publication even pointed out that the data presented could have been gathered by anyone using free statistical tools without the need for a specialized company. Still, the outlet stressed there was nothing wrong with Stats Perform as a database, but rather with the way the figures were used in such an important case. For Paqueta, the favorable decision marked the end of a turbulent period that had damaged not only his image but also his career in practical terms. His transfer to Manchester City, estimated at £85 million, fell through at the peak of his form. Beyond a chance to compete for major trophies, the player lost signing bonuses and a pay rise that could have earned him millions more in the years ahead. The situation had deep psychological effects. For more than 2 years, the midfielder lived under suspicion, speculation, and headlines linking him to serious wrongdoing. Although the acquittal restored his professional reputation, the lost time and missed opportunities can never be recovered. As a form of partial redress, Paqueta is considering seeking financial compensation through the courts, though experts point to the complexity and risks of such a move. West Ham, meanwhile, took a different stance. Sources close to the club confirmed that it does not intend to sue the FA, even though a multi-million-pound deal collapsed due to the accusations. The board believes it would not be positive for the club's image or for the Premier League itself to confront the governing body of English football directly. There is even an unwritten rule that only in cases of extreme negligence or proven crimes do clubs take the FA to court. Financially, the situation had a direct impact on Paqueta's pocket. His legal team, led by Alistair Campbell and joined by the renowned Nick DeMarco, estimated that expenses exceeded £1 million. Under current regulations, athletes must bear their own costs in such proceedings, unlike in common courts where the losing party may be required to reimburse the winner. Even if he tries to recover these sums, experts believe the chances of success are slim. Another inevitable outcome was the fine imposed by the FA for lack of cooperation. The penalty is expected to be around £150,000, roughly equivalent to a week's salary for the player. For someone with Paqueta's earnings, the financial impact is small, but the episode highlights the extent of the damage suffered beyond temporarily tarnishing his image. The case proved costly in terms of time, energy, and emotional stability. At the center of the controversy, the players' lawyers described the FA's conduct as surprising, troubling, and contradictory. In their view, the process revealed structural flaws in the way integrity investigations are handled and highlighted the need for greater rigor, transparency, and impartiality in future inquiries. Although he avoided the maximum penalty, Lucas Paqueta will still have to deal with the consequences of the entire process. The 15,000 fine for lack of cooperation is only a detail compared to what was truly lost: the opportunity to wear Manchester City's shirt in 2023 and compete for titles that could have transformed his career. Had the transfer gone through, he would most likely have lifted trophies such as the Premier League, the UEFA Super Cup, and even the Club World Cup. These titles, beyond their sporting value, would have further elevated his status on the international stage. The absence of that transfer also meant multi-million-pound financial losses. Beyond the higher wages he would have received in Manchester, Paquetá missed out on signing bonuses and parallel contracts that naturally follow players at top clubs. Although he is financially comfortable with significant earnings at West Ham, the emotional damage and impact on his sporting trajectory are impossible to measure in figures. Against this backdrop, speculation arose about a possible lawsuit against the English FA seeking compensation for reputational damage and financial losses. The presence of Nick DeMarco and his legal team reinforced the possibility, as the lawyer is known for taking on difficult cases and overturning seemingly lost causes. However, launching a legal battle against the FA would represent a major risk both financially and institutionally. There is also concern about creating a dangerous legal precedent that could weaken the body's authority in future integrity cases. Despite uncertainties about the future, one thing has become clear: the player emerged stronger in terms of mentality. Since the case was closed, Paquetá has shown a more combative attitude on the pitch, using criticism as fuel to stand out. The symbolic phone thrown away gesture made in recent celebrations was interpreted as a direct message of resilience and irony towards the investigations and accusations that nearly derailed his career. At present, the midfielder remains at West Ham at least for another season. Despite strong interest from clubs such as Aston Villa, the Brazilian stay has been seen as a victory for the fans who now pin their hopes on him for a positive campaign. The team has strengthened with energetic and youthful names such as Magassa, Mateus, Fernandes, Jared Bowen, and the newly arrived Crescencio Somerville. This new context creates a favorable environment for Paquetá to fully reconnect with his football and once again become decisive in important matches. The situation also left lessons for football's governing institutions. The episode exposed the English FA's fragility in handling investigations of such magnitude, casting doubt on the body's credibility and raising suspicion about its methods. At the same time, it reinforced the need for sporting authorities to strike a balance between vigilance and fairness, ensuring that legitimate suspicions are investigated in a technical and responsible manner without jeopardizing athletes' careers in the absence of solid evidence. For Paquetá, the acquittal closes a dark chapter but does not erase the scars of the process. The player enters the new season motivated to show he is still one of the most talented midfielders of his generation. West Ham supporters who closely follow the moments of anguish now wait to see whether the Brazilian can turn all the turbulence into fuel to achieve great results on the pitch. In the end, the question that remains is to what extent the episode will impact his career in the long term. Although he has regained the freedom to play without restrictions, the side effects, such as the lost transfer to Manchester City and the psychological pressure of living under suspicion, still echo. It is now up to the player himself to rewrite his story, proving that the talent almost suffocated by unfounded accusations can finally flourish in full.